Has this ever happened to you? You see a bigger apartment, nicer, with more space, and you think, when I have that, I'll be better, more comfortable, more successful, more advanced in life. And then you do what most people do. You look for something a little bigger, a little more expensive, a little more deserved. And without realizing it, you end up paying more rent, more maintenance, more furniture, more things to fill that space. And here's where it gets interesting. Because while in many parts of the world, people try to live in bigger and bigger spaces, in China, something completely different is happening. Millions of people, including professionals, entrepreneurs, and ambitious young individuals, prefer to live in smaller spaces, not because they can't afford more, but because they understand something most people ignore. And here's the uncomfortable question. What if living bigger is actually making you poorer? Because this is what most people don't realize. It's not how much space you have, it's how much money you have left after paying for it. My name is Mr. Sin, and I spend way too much time thinking about how to explain finance without making it boring, mixing practical ideas with a bit of humor, because otherwise this becomes unbearable. And look, if you're someone who earns well but never manages to save, believes that improving your life means spending more, or keeps increasing your lifestyle as your income increases, make sure to subscribe and like this video if it helps you. Because today, we're going to talk about something that seems simple but has a massive financial impact: the size of where you live. And here's the thing. Most people think their home is a symbol of success, but financially, it can also be one of the most expensive decisions of your life. Here's what most people believe. More space equals better life. More rooms, more comfort, more status. But here's the reality. More space almost always means higher fixed costs, more consumption, and more financial pressure. According to housing and consumer data, Statista Global Housing Reports, housing expenses can represent 30 to 50% of income in many modern cities. And that doesn't even include furniture, decor, maintenance, and utilities. And here's where it gets interesting. The problem is not just the cost, it's what that cost does to your behavior. In many Chinese cities, living spaces are smaller, but there's also a different mindset. Housing is not seen as a symbol, it's seen as a tool, a base, a functional place, nothing more. And that changes everything. Because when you reduce your space, you automatically reduce expenses, consumption, and distractions. In cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai, many young professionals choose compact spaces even when they can afford more. Why? Because they understand this. Every dollar you don't spend on space is a dollar you can invest. Let's do the math. Person A lives in a $1,200 a month apartment. Person B lives in a $700 a month apartment. Difference? $500 per month. Now, in 1 year, $6,000. In 10 years, $60,000. And here's where it gets really interesting. If those $500 are invested at 7% annually, over $85,000, just from living in a smaller space. Same income, completely different life. This is what most people don't see. Space doesn't just cost money, it costs opportunities. Let me tell you something real. I met a young man in Shenzhen. He worked in tech. Good salary. He could afford something bigger, but he chose a small apartment. Very small. I asked him, "Why didn't you move somewhere better?" And he told me something I'll never forget. "I don't need more space. I need more freedom." That money he didn't spend, he invested, month after month, year after year. After a few years, he had more capital than many of his friends who were living in bigger places. And that's when I understood something important. It wasn't about comfort. It was about strategy. Here's the key point. Space changes your behavior. More space equals more stuff. More stuff equals more spending. More spending equals less money available. It's a chain reaction. Also, large spaces create an illusion. I can afford more. while small spaces do the opposite. I need to be intentional. And here's where it gets really interesting. Small spaces force better decisions, not through discipline, but through design. Now you might be thinking, but Mr. Sin, living small is uncomfortable. It depends. Uncomfortable compared to what? Because financially, living big with stress is far more uncomfortable. Another objection, but I want to enjoy life. Of course, but here's the real question. Do you want to look successful or actually become successful? This is where everything connects. Small decisions, like where you live, repeat every month, and every month adds up, and every addition compounds, and that creates a massive effect over time. Most people do this: earn more, spend more, live bigger. But that doesn't create wealth, it creates dependency. The Chinese system does the opposite: earn more, maintain expenses, invest more. And that's the difference. The Chinese small apartment strategy is not about poverty. It's about strategy. It's about understanding that money can do two things: help you impress others or help you build freedom. If this video changed the way you see money, subscribe, like, share it with someone who wants to level up financially. My name is Mr. Sin, and I'll see you in the next video, where we keep learning how to make your money work for you, not the other way around.